that Young really low with Blade will finish him up. He gets Seahawks over the wall with the token win, and the focus of Aslan Grand challenges up. Aslan will not last long. There's a flash from Excavate now. And now a steal and fails the Seoul University still doesn't break, and here comes the fight. One time is on. Look at the Stumasi and Yamchi on the center of the fight.
Flash away as Arc goes for the back line. Condenser standing on the line of the equalizer. Yes, equalize is dead. Will be waiting.
What is up, guys? Welcome back as we head in for Game 2 of the LoL Collegiate League powered by Lenovo. But of course, before anything else, we are going to be your shoutcasters. Finally, it's not singular, but plural, as this is Arctic at your service. And with me, naniniwala na ako sa forever at kasama ko si Atlas.
Yeah, I had a small emergency to handle last game. But of course, now we are here with the second game between the Malayan College's Laguna Warlocks and the University of the Cordillera Scythe. And that last game was actually pretty intense. There was a huge lead coming from UC, and it seemed like MCL could get back into the game, but then it got turned around on them again, and UC just took them all out.
Yeah, indeed. And what's interesting is that UC is actually the team that had some roster changes going into this, so they clearly had less time as far as preparation and getting their synergy on, but still, the way they played that game, if anything, they actually look stronger now going into this, especially since they're the 3rd seed for North Luzon. So this is pretty big for them, and it's really nice to see that they got their rhythm back in time for the Interconference series, and they're just in it stronger than ever. But let's go ahead and check out these bans, of course. So it's going to be the Ivern, Orianna, and Lucian once again, clearly banning out some of the key strengths as to what makes MCL's lead in the group stage, in the conference stage rather, so definitive against the South Luzon team. So I'm not actually surprised that the Ivern and Orianna was banned out again from both Vonnie and Johnny respectively.
Yeah, the Ivern is actually really oppressive. It's either you pick it or you ban it. It's too good to actually pass up on a ban or a pick. On the other hand, MCL Warlocks, these bans are actually reactive from last game. The Kled ban, we saw how Mob just ran them over, and also the Ari coming from Cry, being able to even solo kill the top laner for MCL. So we're seeing the second rotation of bans here. Seems like UC really wants to not deal with an oppressive top lane like Darius, and also an oppressive bot lane like Caitlyn. On the other hand, MCL top lane and mid lane bans the Vladimir and the Fizz. Of course, very annoying to deal with, both of them.
Indeed. And yeah, it looks like this is actually interesting because it looks like UC gonna stick with what they know, with the exception, of course, of the Graves, as opposed to the Lease that they used earlier. They're gonna be using the Graves instead. Still, actually a great option, and especially with how Aquino's played this out, I feel like because he just skyrocketed in that game earlier on the Lease, and now that he's on the Graves, it's probably gonna be even more definitive, especially if it's gonna be the same trend where he just gets things going.
Yeah, he can carry harder on that Graves. It seems like, UC, they prioritize their bot lane. The Ashe here plus the Malzahar. The level 6 power spike is huge. If Akinos can get that gank once they reach level 6, it might be an easy double kill for Akinos. But of course, MCL, looking at their draft, let's look at this. You got Mordekaiser and Talia and Saya. That's an interesting set of picks, actually very, very interesting. I'm excited to see how the Mordekaiser will perform against the Camille.
Indeed.
Because Mordekaiser doesn't really have a superb early game when he doesn't really have the time to oppress and keep pushing. But we're going to have to see here because Camille might be too oppressive for that Mordekaiser pick. On the other hand, Janny, now on that Talia, might have actually the ways. Because one of the problems with Mordekaiser, he gets kited in the mid game and late game. And Talia being able to block away the path of UC, it might give Lucis enough time to just smash them down with his mace.
Indeed. And looking at the compositions that they have, I'm definitely expecting, since this is both a Mordekaiser and a Talia, they're like, if I were MCL, if I were the jungler for MCL, I'd emphasize a lot more ganks in that top lane and that mid lane respectively, because you actually have a great setup with that Talia. If ever the Talia can get a full combo on the mid laner of UC, UCC, then that's where things will get really good for them. But we'll just have to see again. MCL, they seem pretty shaky. They weren't really able to figure out how they could really utilize their composition to the team. While UC, again, the synergy really amazes me. And given the composition that they have, it's actually somewhat similar as far as the game plan. You know, they have many options as far as the CC for each champion on for the draft that they have, and at the same time, yeah, I mean,
they have tons of utility and lockdown as well. It's really what makes their composition utterly terrifying. On the side of MCL, they have novel picks. Saya is actually really strong even without Rakan. The burst that she has in lane with a Blade Caller is just huge, and combine that with a natural burst in lane coming from Karma with the empowered with the Soul Flare. It's actually so good, and it might actually give Skeith and Hong a run for their money. So Johnny, of course, still has to survive against that Syndra if he wants to be impactful without Weaver's wall. And of course, it's all up to Vonnie to actually wrap everything up in the early game and set them up for success. Because he is a Lee Sin. He has to make that pressure early in the game, or else he's just going to fall off and taper into nothingness.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same problems that Vonnie had within that early game. He wasn't able to really make an impact with that Trundle. As a result, he was just pretty much he wasn't really able to utilize what a Trundle does. You know, he wasn't able to establish any form of split push, was not able to get some key subjugates in order to pick off champions of UC, because UC was just so ahead, and they always pull the trigger so much faster. But, you know, we'll just have to see. Maybe MCL, with all the drive in the world, to get a comeback into this game, just so that they would still have a chance at qualifying for the top 4. You know, we'll just have to see if MCL can make that difference against UC. But of course, before we head into that, before we see all that action on the Rift, we actually have our winner for the Scratch and Win. Scratch and Win. Like
yeah,
Scratch
Search and Win.
Yeah, Search and Win. There you go.
It's going to be Clifford John Lontok. You will be getting that Mr. Gift in a few working days. The question he answered was, what was the third Drake in the last game? And that was, of course, the Ocean Drake. So congratulations. But looking back at the composition, I'm actually seeing the synergy here, because as I said, Mordekaiser gets so kited so much. But if he can get close to you, if he can really put out his damage, it's going to hurt.
Indeed.
So that's the Weaver's Wall to block out the path, plus the Inspire shields coming from Karma. So definitely all that speed boost is going to be huge. And if he's running the Storm Raider Surge, which he should, it's just going to be a very fast Mordekaiser.
Indeed. And I feel like in order to really make sure that Mordekaiser actually has relevance going into the mid-game, it's really up to Vonnie to get him going. Because if things are very stagnant in that top lane, like, sure, let's say if they do get a full combo on, things go well for them in the 5v5. Still, if that Mordekaiser doesn't establish some sort of dominance, or at least a small lead in comparison to Camille within the early phase.
Because he can snowball the lead so much as a Mordekaiser. If he gets a small lead, if he gets his items, and he can survive in these team fights, he's gonna be the meme Mordekaiser. Always live, never die.
There you go.
Mordekaiser. So, but of course, still, MCL needs to be careful, because if they don't pull the composition off very well, it's gonna end up as a 0-2 for them.
Exactly.
And it's gonna be tragic.
And the thing about UC, what I like about them, sure, their composition and the place that they make it somewhat textbook, but sometimes textbook is all you need. If you're able to execute perfectly, then that's all you need against a team that, sure, they might have an interesting creative composition, but without proper execution, without knowing your win conditions, then that's where things just really go south so fast. And that's where MCL really needs to prove themselves as they head into this game against UC.
That's really one of the most important things, you know, is you learn the basics, and then you get the baseline of the meta. Of course, people will criticize you and say, oh, they're meta slaves. But it's meta for a reason, it works. And if they can actually pull that off, then they will have room for these stranger picks. But if your macro play is not on point, if your drafting isn't on point, weird picks like, I don't know, weird top lane like, I don't know, Gangplank, it's not going to work. It's not going to work if the team doesn't have the macro play to support it.
Exactly.
And it seems like UC is really just as the start of the game for Group B, actually pulling that off really nicely with a very utility plus CC, just punch you in the face composition.
Indeed, indeed. So again, this is actually a good point that you brought up, because I know even for myself, when I started off playing League, like, I really watching the pro players pull off all these interesting picks. Like, you'd want to try to make it work for yourself, but then again, I couldn't make it work personally because at the end of the day, it's because my basics weren't as solid. So unless you establish the basics first, you wouldn't be able to go for the more advanced stuff in League. But yeah, hold that thought right there as we head into Game 2 once again for University of Cordilleras versus Malayan College's Laguna. So we'll just have to see if MCL, will they be able to make the comeback that they need to stay relevant, to make it into the top 4, to keep the dream alive, or will UC ultimately crush whatever hopes they may potentially have by going 2-0?
Because best of twos like this are so bouncy. Like, if you get a sweep, it's huge, 3 points. But if you get a 1-1, just the 1 point is actually enough to keep the group close. So for here, MCL's win, if they win this, it will really change the landscape of the fight. Oh, Lucis,
no.
That's not good. Gets first blooded, and then it goes to his lane opponent. I don't know what he was doing there. He was in a position to brush to just see them coming. I don't know if he was AFK during that, but still, that going to bot is going to make his lane hell.
Indeed, and plus the fact that that is a Mordekaiser. Very awkward somewhat, and again, this is MCL really needs to be alert, alive, alert, awake.
It seems like Suzuya is subbing in for MCL instead of Vonnie. So we're going to see if that Lee Sin of his will actually be more impactful than Vonnie's last game.
Well, yeah, indeed. So
Still,
again,
though, that first blood is
it's all up
so
to
bad.
Suzuya. And yeah, I mean, with that lead that Mob had, with that small lead, I'd say small, but still very impactful nonetheless. There's all the more pressure for Suzuya to really show up, to really help Lucis try to get things going within the first 10 minutes of this game.
Wow, what a healthy start for Akinos here. Getting those Voidlings from Kissy means that he clears that red buff so perfectly. Not even a sliver of health lost from him. And I mean, in the first place, Graves is super survivable in the jungle, and then having that leash from the Voidlings, this means that he's like playing Elise from last game.
Indeed, exactly. There you go. And again, this will only allow Akinos to really get things going earlier on, as opposed to Suzuya, his counterpart. And this will be very tricky. But look at this, both Cry and Stellar getting a lot of stuff going. It's actually, yeah, not only Suzuya, but it's also going to be Stellar subbing in for the previous mid laner from Game 1. Can't quite remember his name.
It seems like that will be the case. Lots of subs, so it means that the paradigm has been reset for MCL. They have half of their team is going to this with a fresh mindset, but we're gonna see how all of that actually plays out. Akinos is gonna gank this lane, loses a huge amount of trouble. He's gonna try and get that kill. Actually, the gank coming for Suzuya will actually help them out here, bursting down, chunking down Akinos, actually get that kill very nicely. There's heal and the shields coming from Lucis. At first he was looking so bad, but of course Mordekaiser just being able to survive that.
Exactly,
naturally.
very played. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what Lucis needs to really get things going for him. And with Suzuya, great presence right there. And this will only really help Lucis. And Camille, this pretty much make things back even to make up for the first blood that happened earlier for MCL.
Seems like it's going to be the longsword for Lucis here, building his items. But actually, the boots will actually help him out because he naturally has a lot of damage. So the boots will actually help him do that damage, deal that damage.
Oh, there we go. Mob actually trying to trade Lucis, but Lucis still, look at the heal going on for Mordekaiser right here. A little bit of sustain for him, and this is going to make things very tricky for Mob. So it looks like it's definitely up to Akinos, but will be spotted out by that ward right there. Good attempt though, but still, again, this is MCL learning from the mistakes of the previous game. They know how dominant Akinos is as far as the ganks that he exerts and his rotations in general. So good on MCL to really get some vision on to deny that from Akinos. And as a result, UC will have to adjust based on the proactivity from MCL to avoid the mistakes that they made earlier.
And if Lucis gets more kills, more assists, more kills, it's going to be way easier for MCL transitioning into the mid game where the skirmishes start happening. But here in the bot lane, this is so oppressive coming from Skeith and Kissy. That combination of just DPS coming from the Ashe and the DOT coming from the Malzahar is enough to just push away Asuka and Kari.
Oh no. So here we go. Still 1-1. Very looking. I guess this is what's interesting because Akinos actually had a ball getting a lot of successful ganks within the first 10 minutes of the game. So that being said, it's actually interesting how Aquinas will respond to this, knowing that MCL is a little bit more precautious as to anticipating when he ganks by getting some key vision.
Yeah, it seems like they're just denying Aquinas the ganks that he wants here. Asuka and Kari are playing a little bit safer there in the bot lane. In the mid lane, the Talia here is actually stellar. Actually doing pretty well against that Syndra, even with the 1 assist that Cry has over him. He's doing very well. The Summers are still up, and he's playing pretty safely to not get ganked by Aquinas.
Indeed, and Cry actually going to be a little bit more vulnerable in this case with Zuya and Aquinas actually both within the both within mid lane range to go for a gank, but that is going to be Suzuya spotting out. So yeah, both sides aware that both junglers are within the mid lane vicinity.
Yes, Suzuya really does not want to get near that level 6 Cry, does not want to get the power unleashed on him. So that is going to be the case here. Has to back off once Cry reach level 6. There's a pretty slow-paced game for both of our teams here. A little more calculated.
I really like how Aquinos is... Again, we were talking about whether or not Aquinos could adjust to this. And I guess he can, because it's actually very telling based off the creep score for both the Graves in contrast to the Lee Sin, 32-21. So he knows that he couldn't really get any ganks on earlier, so he's making up by making sure that he farms and gets as much farm, as much jungle camps as he can.
But of course, yeah, the CS coming for the junglers is actually can be deceptive, because the range of CS you get from each camp is huge. Like for Graves, it'll be much easier to clear multiple monster camps like rather Krugs and Raptors. On the other hand, Suzuya might opt to actually take out more single target camps like Gromp, so that might be the disparity in the CS. But it seems now the pressure is actually pretty much equal for both of them, matching the rotations of the counterparts.
And there we go. Look at PC though, taking quite a bit. Well, then of course in exchange gets exchangeable damage onto Kari here, so it's both supports. It's actually both sides trying to take down the squishier supports here. So we'll just have to see how that translates. And good silence there from PC as well to kind of make sure that Kari doesn't prevent some of that damage through the shields.
It's actually the one pressuring the lane here is Lucis, because he constantly gets his shields up. So that means Camille here, Mob, is having more trouble trying to press him back. It seems like Aquino's trying to get that gank in the bot lane, but of course, level 6 Spike's not there yet for his bot lane.
Indeed, and of course, not to mention Asuka actually has the ult up. So let's say even though they were to go very, very hard, Asuka will be able to not negate, but avoid some of that damage, the barrage of damage technically, from UC. Not to mention, like, what's interesting is that Asuka could actually dodge that Enchanted Crystal Arrow from Skeeth right there.
It's gonna be scary later in the game when skirmishes and teamfights start happening, and that means Cry is relegated to a few targets. It's gonna be either Stellar or Asuka. If he goes for Asuka, he just get the Feather Storm out there and dodge it entirely. But if it's Stellar, he might be a bit tankier. He is building the Merc Treads first, might transition to more defensive AP items. So it's going to be much harder for Cry later into the game. I really like the Saya pickup here, actually.
Not to mention the fact that in order for Cry to get a full barrage of the combo that he has on that Syndra, he kind of needs to get within range of the Talia, and Talia in exchange could actually release her own full onslaught of the combo that
her own unleashed power.
Exactly, there you go.
Q is actually quite similar in the way that it... Oh, it's going to be Suzuya. A little bit of trouble. Gets chunked down. Cry really wants to get that. Unleashed power actually takes it out. But here comes Stellar and Kari. It's going to be Kissy and Mog. The teleport will be coming from Lucis, but Stellar already takes out Cry, and now he pays the price. But it's going to be the Weaver's Wall here. But it's going to be a 3v2 if ever. Plus, Kissy gets that Void Gauge up. But here comes Asuka for the DPS. The Feather Storm is actually going to be huge here while Lucis tries to take out Akinos. He takes him down. And it's going to be the DPS coming from Asuka and Kari, giving them 3 kills in exchange for 1.
Oh no, MCL finally flexing some muscles in this game. It looks like they're actually hovering around. Will they be going for this Infernal Drake? Might actually, but this might be a bit tricky though. Suzuya is on his way right now, so especially with 5 members now, once Suzuya arrives, this may be the first. Finally, MCL gonna take will be able to finally take a Drake, actually, in general. Since they weren't able to secure a Drake in the first game, finally securing a Drake right now.
Oh, that's going to be huge. If Lucius and Suzuya want to push this mid lane, they can. They have to make good use of that Drake Ghost. And it's going to be just clearing the way. Look at that AoE damage coming from that. Looks at the replay.
So yeah, let's go ahead and check this. Cry actually getting the flash on, knowing very well that Suzuya doesn't really have anywhere else to go. Plus a flash down for him as well. But yeah, there goes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Unfortunately, does not connect onto any members, but that's very key because MCL in exchange is able to just respond to this beautifully. As you can see, Akinos and Mob here converge onto Stella, but as a result, other members of MCL were able to converge onto the other members of UC, and this granted enough time for Asuka to get into this fight. And as you can see, that is the Feather Dance, and actually lands onto 3 members. That's a lot of damage, and as a result, UC forced to just go back. And things just went south real fast for UC at this point. So MCL really showing that they have what it takes to get back and potentially secure a win for Game 2.
Cry could have survived that if he didn't walk over the Unraveled Earth. Because that pops, even if you don't get the proc from dashing or getting knocked away, it does pop after a duration. And that was the one that killed him ultimately.
Oh, look at that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but that is going to be the cleanse. Look at 2 ults exhausted to try to take down Stellar, but Stellar, especially on the Talia, not to mention Mercury Treads, to
really helping him out there.
Exactly.
The really quick cleanse as well to just ensure everything that he survives. It's actually looking really good here for MCL. They might be setting up this dive or a fight here at the top lane. Mob has no idea. Oh man. No. Denies the hook shot. But that's going to be a very fast Lucius here. Going to put down Children of the Grave. Gets KS by Suzuya, but they do have a Ghost now. They might go for the tower here.
It's going to be very heavy siege for Lucius here. You know, has the Ghost of the Camille to help him get some push on, and that's going to be very tricky. But here comes Akinos.
Oh, that might be a bad idea for Akinos. That's a lot of damage onto him. Gets taken down by carry, and that is one reckless Akinos, not respecting the burst that can come from carries. Karma plus the additional burst and damage coming from Asuka. And here comes Stellar to go for a follow-up. He gets the Void Gaze on and taking a lot of turret hits, but doesn't be carried. And Asuka putting out the DPS. Here comes Suzuya for that shield. It's not enough to save carry, but that's going to be 2 kills in exchange for the support's life. But here comes the mid laner. Cry might actually get the kill here against Asuka, but it's a lot of damage coming from Suzuya. Gets that leash power on that Lee Sin. The safeguard actually saves him. This would be Asuka with a little bit of health left, and the Weaver's Wall just to ensure that no one can follow up.
Oh man, that was messy, messy, messy. A lot of blood being spilled out. 12 minutes into the game, going 13, and MCL. I'm really like, this is a different MCL from what we saw in the first game. You know, MCL they were trying. There were a lot of attempts, but still, it's because of Akinos getting such a dominance early on, it really didn't matter. But MCL respecting Akinos at this point, you know, really denying him a lot of key ganks that could have went well for UC had they been successful. This is just MCL really adapting, figuring out how UC plays this game.
Composition is really working out for
exactly.
them. Even though the first blood, I think UC Scythe, they underestimated the survivability and damage coming from the Mordekaiser, which led to the kill, plus Suzuya as well with the on-point rotations, really quickly detecting if anything's going on at the top lane. And here comes Stellar, actually both Suzuya and Stellar doing a lot better for this game than the earlier.
And what's tricky here is that when you're going up against, that's going to be big. Again, we've been talking about how MCL, with the siege potential that they have, plus the Rift Herald to boot, that is going to make things
Imagine this. If Lucius gets a kill with Children of the Grave and gets a Ghost, and then combines it with that Rift Herald, whoop, Papa Molly, I'm sweating.
Oh, man.
It's going to be Lucius, going to be the huge pusher for Warlocks here. But of course, he still has to bring that Rift Herald all the way to the second tier turret. He does have teleports. If they win a fight in the bot lane, imagine 4 or 5 members wailing down on that turret combined with, say, a Ghost from Children of the Grave plus this Rift Herald. That's going to be maybe in the second tier turret, maybe even next, rather inhibitor turret if they're not careful.
That's going to make one heck of a push party if Lucius was able to accomplish that. And Yeah, again, MCL, I'm really liking the creativity that they're going for with this composition. If not, this is actually, if I'm not mistaken, a pocket pick from Lucius right here. And again, it's really showing, you know, he's really dominant on this Mordekaiser, really knowing, pushing the limits of this champion right here. And I love how MCL, with the composition they have, really complements that.
Oh man, Mob giving Lucius some alone time there in the top lane means that this lane's gonna be pushing farther and farther into the turret, meaning that Rift Herald is gonna be much closer. But of course, Mountain Drake gonna be spawning in a little while. That might be where the next fight will be. That definitely will be where the next fight will be. And after, and if MCL gets that Drake plus the Rift Herald onto that bot lane, that's going to be an onslaught. The turrets are going to go down so quickly.
Oh, there goes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Soaring, flying, not connecting though.
Oh, that's going to be two. Actually, stunned, but the cleanse will take him out. Now look at the burst on Akinos with the Unraveled Earth. Karin is going to follow up with a lot of his own CC, but it gets Void Gaze, gets taken down. It's going to be Suzuya now on the run here. Double kill for Cry. And that's going to be so unfortunate for MCL, giving those 2 kills to the enemy mid laner. And they actually gives away control of the drag.
Indeed, indeed. A little bit of an overstep there by Suzuya, and as a result, gets taken down. But yeah, still, I mean, technically you do have the escape to really maneuver along the Legion. It's just that because of the QCC coming from Lucius right here, but
But again, it's actually a good play coming from Lucius. The Mountain Drake is the tankiest Drake in the game, so it's going to take them longer. So this gives the Rift Herald some time there in the bot lane. Even with Mob trying to defend that, look at that. Instantly takes down that bot lane, the top lane, second tier turret, but of course that will be taken down by Mob. Not the ideal situation for the Rift Herald to be summoned.
Exactly.
But
could have been better.
Yeah, could have been better if the mid lane fight was played better by Suzuya and Stellar.
Indeed, indeed. But here we go. Lucius is actually staying around. But
Confidence.
Actually tries to take down Bob, but does not continue. Akinos actually will be going for the response, but
still, he can actually 1v2 this if he wants to.
Essentially, but you know, without the knowledge of, well, technically bot lane is there, but you know, better safe than sorry in this case. You know, still, if you're gonna look at the
scoreboard, Suzuya, 3-man gank here. Actually, that's gonna make that a 5-man here with Kissy getting taken down, plus Keith in a little bit of a stuck between a rock and a hard place with Stellar taking him down. And the teleport coming from Mob was actually behind the Weaver's wall, so he had no way of helping there, even with a hook shot.
Oh my goodness.
This could have been the opportunity for the Rift Herald. Lucius, the shields just saving him, even the collateral damage, not enough to take him down. The shields and survivability come from Mordekaiser, who's kind of swinging red, but so close, but no cigar for Akinos.
I love how MCL is all about the shields, and it's very definitive based on the bans, consistent ban on the Ivern and the Orianna that we've seen from UC. Imagine if like MCL secured those type of champions wherein they had all the more utility and shields. But yeah, that being said, this is MCL really playing to what strengths they know they have as a team. And again, they're just protecting key targets, really utilizing the shields to avoid any further takedowns, and UC definitely has their work cut out for them.
Yeah, but if, the gold lead isn't that big. It's 3,000 at 18 minutes. That's not huge. So if UC gets a good team fight out, because their composition is so explosive, if MCL screws up like what they did with Stellar and Suzuya in the mid lane, giving Cry that double kill, it's going to make Scythe's job of getting back into this game much easier. That's a 3k gold difference, not huge. UC with their high CC, high damage, huge impact composition. If they get a good team fight out, they're going to get a few objectives off of that. The turrets, and then MCL is going to cry if they get a bad team fight.
Not sure if that pun was intended right there, but indeed. Again, it's all about the patience game for UC. They just really need to wait for either a mistake from MCL, perhaps, maybe even just a pickoff would do, I believe. You know, just trying, because that was actually what they were managing to do.
Oh, that might be a little bit of trouble, but the shields really blocking off a lot of Suzuya's health here. It's going to be Mob getting pushed away from the team. The Hexagon Tomato will not have a lot of value. There's going to be a lot of ults actually burned inside of UC, so which means that MCL can actually continue this push. It's going to be Lucius though. 1v4 steps on a ward. Not the best way to rotate through the enemy jungle. And that is one of the mistakes that MCL makes that UC can take advantage of, because even if they have the ult disadvantage,
exactly,
they do have them numbers.
Indeed, this was what we were talking about earlier, where again, it's all about using being patient, trying to get what pickoffs that they can if ever MCL finds themselves in an awkward position. And that's what Lucius actually exemplified right there. What mistakes MCL should be avoiding in order for UC to not get back into this game.
They should really be respectful of the stun coming from Pride. But that's going to be Suzuya instantly taking him down. Stellar on the right side of that wall. He still gets taken down by the burst from Suzuya, but Stellar surviving with a little bar of health here. The shield's really giving them a lot of value, lots of clutch.
Indeed. And yeah, MCL actually in better form than we've seen earlier. And right now, oh man, as long as they could avoid those very awkward pickups, like what happened to Lucius earlier, I feel like even if they just stay grouped up, that would actually be enough, because even if they go 5v5, let's say UC releases a full barrage of skills, so long as the key players, which has all the shields to kind of protect the members of MCL, should they get picked off from the CC of UC rather, then I think they should be good. And not to mention the fact that Suzuya, I feel like, is definitely key to kind of stopping that with his ult.
He does have the Dragon's Rage. 5 and 2. That's going to be a very painful kick. So it's up to him to actually set up the fights for MCL together, because they don't really have a way of direct engage, a rather reliable engage. They don't have Void Gates, they don't have the Shattered Crystal Arrow, they don't even have the luxury of the Scattered Weak stun. The only thing they have is actually the Insect kick, the Dragon's Rage coming from Suzuya, and the block off coming from Stellar. So really, they have to just rush them down. They have to play this a little bit like a Sivir composition. Just run them down. Because they do have the capacity for it. They have the speed boost. They have the mobility. It's actually like a Sivir composition without a Sivir.
There you go. That's a good way of putting it, actually. But yeah, 7-Eleven on our scoreboard right now. No reference to the convenience store, by the way. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Again, MCL, I really like, we're seeing some sort of synergy, because there was some sort of disconnect earlier from that previous game. And I think we got to attribute, I feel like subbing in Suzuya and Stellar for this game, definitely working out for them.
The Shrine is in the hands of MCL. They will have that vision and speed boost. So the next big fight will definitely be around this Infernal Drake. The Infernal Drake is going to be huge for both of these teams, especially for University of the Cordilleras. Ooh, that's not a good way. Oh! Flashes over the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Flashes the badge as well. Takes him down. That's going to be a free Infernal Drake and a Ghost for UC.
It looks like MCL actually not done yet. This is going to be big for MCL. I mean, like, because Lucius has that Ghost Scythe right there, I mean, it just leaves them with so many options, and they're going to be going for this Infernal Drake. Going to make them all the more painful in this game. And this is going to be very, very tricky for UC, even with the CC.
It's going to be free Infernal for them, and look at Lucius. Actually, the Ghost got taken down by the damage from Pride, but here he comes, 3-man stun coming from Pride, actually bursting them down, but look at Suzuya styling on them. Safeguards behind them, gets some damage out, but in the end, Stellar gets taken down solo by Cry.
We're seeing some pretty nifty plays from MCL here, just when I thought that, you know, they wouldn't come into this game with as much bravado, clearly. You know, they got their rhythm back into this game. I really gotta hand it to Suzuya right here. Proving to really get MCL back on the map here. And there we go.
Be careful.
Indeed.
Because that's still a 3.5k gold lead for them. Let's look at how all that happened, Arctic.
So yeah, I mean, that was a very good stun there from Cry, but then again, what I really want to highlight here is look at the confidence coming from Suzuya. That's the flash and goes in onto the Syndra, no fear whatsoever. And sure, it's a 1v1, but wow. I mean, fancy footwork from the Lee Sin.
Definitely. Just curving around that Raptor camp into the turret. I'm not sure if that was really necessary, because all of the damage was already onto Cry, but still, it was really stylish. So that's going to be MCL with 2 Infernal Drakes. That's going to be super painful. Lucius, if he gets on something, that guy's dead. Indeed. And this top lane pick, I like this top lane pick because it's not forcing the rest of MCL to adjust to him. They might be playing around each other instead of this top laner just forcing his entire team to adjust to him, always going in without a thought. Lucius, he might have some hiccups there in his rotations, but when he's fighting with his team, it's just impressive. But of course, UC, they have been playing pretty well as well in the actual team fights. When they do get a pick off, they take advantage of it. and it's really both of these teams quite evenly matched in the second game.
So yeah, we'll just have to see how this goes for UC and yet, but yeah, still, MCL, despite them doing much better in this game, they definitely don't want to put their guard down. But Lucius actually sees Mob here, will be going in, but not quite. You know, Mob will be going for the safety of this inner bot turret.
Yeah, I really like this configuration from MCL. Top lane, it's gonna be Stellar pushing with that Talia. Yeah, he does have the Weaver's Wall to rotate and even block off the Baron Pit if UC tries to go for it. In the mid lane, it's going to be 3 members, Suzuya, Asuka, and Tari. They have enough mobility and survivability to survive any engages. And bot lane is going to be Lucis. If a fight happens in Baron, he just teleports. And they need 2 people to take him down.
Exactly, and you know, Lucius revealing himself in this bot lane now with the knowledge of knowing where the rest of UC is. Very confident to just go up against the Camille, you know, try to get some push on. But yeah, MCL, looks like both sides trying to establish some form of control over this Baron Pit, because especially with things somewhat still even despite a small lead from MCL, nonetheless, whoever gets this Baron, it'll just really dictate the flow of this game.
Yeah.
And I feel like if MCL gets that Baron with that Mordekaiser, and if they could... Oh no, but well, I thought there goes the chance for
arrow. Gets onto Asuka, but the Feather Storm is enough to actually have him dodge a lot of damage. It's going to be Stellar burning his Zonya's Hourglass. Cry will try and get on him. The Scatter the Weak will not hit him, but that's going to be a half-health Cry and a really low-health turret.
They really want in out this outer mid turret.
But UC overcommitting to this sliver of health turret. Here comes Lucis from the side.
Exactly. It's trying to trick for them. Just 2 members of
very low. It's going to be Asuka taken down immediately, but now Suzuya and the rest of MCL going to wail on them. That's going to be 1 for 2 so far, but look at the damage that Lucis is pulling out with that Mordekaiser. Oh my god, look at all the damage and the shields and the survivability. And this might actually give them an opportunity to take down this second-tier turret.
Exactly. Even despite it being a 3 for 3, with UC having that extra ghosty member from the sky, it only I'd say it's job well mission accomplished. They came up much better in that fight.
And it's really Lucis doing so much damage.
Exactly.
And this is MCL playing around him. Asuka even sacrificed his own life there.
Exactly.
Let's look at how all of that happened.
So yeah, there we go. So it's very messy, but as you can see here, MCL, even though they actually lose more members earlier on, but because of that dominance from Lucius, look at how Lucius just confidently goes into all these members here. Knowing how tanky he is, how much damage he can exert to boost, taking all that, look at the turret aggro, doesn't even care whatsoever, manages to get the ghost onto Skies, and because of that range, actually manages to get Akinos as well.
Man, and that is top lane. That is another kill. And that's going to be Lucis looking out to be one of the better top laners from South Luzon.
Wow.
Really bringing out here in Group B with these novel picks. His novel picks are actually working. And this is really making UC's job a lot harder. Now it's going to be a 5.8k gold lead for MCL. And it's going to be a bit substantial at this point in the game. It seems like if MCL just keeps going like this, they might actually take this game away and make it a 1-1. But still, UC, I keep stressing because you saw how much damage they dealt. They were able to take down 2 members before MCL could even rev up their own damage. If they can prevent MCL from taking down that damage, it's going to be huge for them. It's going to be the Baron teleport coming from Mob. MCL immediately pulls away from that purple worm.
Yeah, very interesting. As we mentioned, this Baron buff is going to be very juicy, and no surprise that both sides trying to establish some level of control, but here comes MCL though.
When Lucis shoots, oh, there's going to be a 2-man Static Gristle arrow, but look at the damage comes to Suzuya. He gets a lot of pulls on him, including the Void Gaze, but look at the damage coming from Lucis. He's just taking them down 1 by 1 in this choke point. He is taking a lot of damage, but look at Shields. Shields not enough, and now it's going to be Stellar up to him to finish the job. Look at the Unraveled Earth with the Seismic Shove, taking down Cry. That's going to be a 3 for 1 with only Lucis getting taken down. Suzuya, sliver of health, but this is so much control for the mid lane.
Oh no, things are definitely going south. UC might actually lose out on inhibitor, but here comes
Stellar. Gotta try and taken down by Mob, but look at all of that burst and damage, and the lockdown comes from Asuka. The hook shot might actually be enough. Takes him down, shuts him down. But that's going to be Suzuya taking him down with a little Muay Thai kick.
There we go, 12 and 21 now on our scoreboard, but still MCL looks like they'll be transitioning
this
to a dragon. But yeah, let's go and check this out. And Chapel Crystal Arrow actually does connect, but because Suzuya, look at him, going into the backline control, gets key targets, gets Skype on, actually.
Look at Lucis here now.
Exactly, and there we go, Lucis, just like a boss right there, frontlining like a pro. Again, the tankiness, the damage that he's dealing, proving to be a threat onto UC. UC that can do nothing but try to kite Lucis at this point. Although, actually, still, they're able to get the kill onto Lucis.
Here he runs out of shields.
But then again,
power takes
there's still a lot of members of MCL at the point.
But yeah, even with Enchanted Crystal Arrow, that was quite a short-range arrow. So that meant the cleanse was there, plus enough for the Feather Storm to actually deny. And even then, Suzuya was just, okay, my team's in trouble. Go in, sacrifice all of my health, and disrupt them with my damage plus my Dragon's Rage. It's actually been working out for him. And now, the gold lead is now 6K, still 6K for MCL, maintaining that gold lead here.
Oh no, that would be very big if Lucis, if you're going to look at the itemization path, could potentially be going for a Zhonya's Hourglass. And that would actually solve some of the problems that he's been having as far as being taken down.
He can now dodge the Unleash power completely.
Exactly. And this will just make it
Mob might be in trouble. He doesn't have his team to back him up, and that's going to be red buff on Asuka, meaning that there's no escape for that. Now it's going to be Cry 1v2, almost taking down Suzuya. Not quite. That's going to be the Baron start for them. Suzuya is quite low though. Does have the smite for a little bit of retribution, plus a safeguard to give a little bit of that life steal and spell vamp, and the shields as well. But that's going to be Lucis trying to frontline for MCL as they try to complete this Baron. Might not be worth it. They will pull away from it. The threat coming from the Void Gaze plus the collateral damage is too much.
Exactly. Good on MCL to show some level of restraint, especially since, like you did mention, Suzuya very, very crucially low on health. So if they continue that, that would have been
that would have been easy steal.
Exactly. And if you guys notice, Smite is actually down for Suzuya at that point. I believe he used that to actually regain some of the health that he didn't lose in case things were to get ugly where UC was restrained on him.
So good restraint from MCL not to force the objective because the Baron was getting really low. They could actually have risked it, but they decide, okay, we don't really have a reason to throw the game, so let's just pull away from it. They don't get anything from it even if we pull away. And look at that. UC still taking down turrets even when they're making these rotations.
Look at Cry actually still far up.
I mean rather MCL.
But yeah, it looks like UC spotting out MCL, showing some presence in order for MCL to not be too complacent with taking this Baron. But yeah, we'll just have to see how this goes. Again, I'm loving how MCL is playing out this game. Well, but oh no, will this be a bloodbath at this point?
The next fight will be centered around this Baron. They are dancing around that vision. Look at Suzuya.
No.
Here we go. That's going to be the fight start. To win a kick. Akinos and Kissy jump over the wall, but that's going to be Mob now in trouble. Look at Stellar. Even if he gets CC, the threaded volley is still going to be down for that. It's going to be 1-for-1 so far, but with Akinos low, it might actually be the Baron for MCL.
Oh no, MCL, and yeah, this might be indeed be the Baron for them, but instead they'll be rotating.
They're still
back
looking
to
for
top.
Mob.
Indeed.
It seems like they will just recall for now.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, wow. Again, this is all the fights that we've been seeing have been leaning towards the side more of the Baron because both sides know just how crucial this objective is at. But you see, if they get it, they'll be able to stall out what lead MCL has right now. If MCL gets it, only establishes the strength to potentially close out this game against UC.
Yeah, just imagine with that Baron buff, if they can block off UC from either top lane or bot lane with that Weaver's wall, and they have some alone time with that turret, it's going to go down very quickly, especially with high attack speed coming from Asuka, plus a Triforce on the hands of Lucis. That is an all-purpose artifact with a Triforce and Gunblade, and that Zhonya's is actually going to be pretty survivable while dealing tons of damage.
Indeed, so there we go. MCL reestablishing some level of control on this map. Look at all these wards though. Really liking this for MCL, and again, they very well much should. But here we go. UC gonna establish vision of their own. Here
they want to try and deny MCL from taking this, but they are aware that they can't just start it. MCL is in more of a position to start this Baron, but here UC just needs to establish vision here. That might be very dangerous for Suzuya. He does have the GA. That's going to be teleport from Lucis. That's going to be 2 ults burnt for Suzuya. Is that worth it? Here comes the Weaver's Wall. The support comes from the rest of his team. Suzuya, even with his low health, tries to help his team out. Lucis, look at the regeneration. Look at the damage. Now he has a Ghost. Now it's going to be 2v3 here, even with Stellar taking down. It's going to be Ghost. Keeps Ghost actually the biggest target for the Children of the Grave, given to MCL, and now they have 280 carries plus Mordekaiser to take down this top lane turret. They don't even need Baron for this one.
Oh no, and those are some very hefty death timers on the members of UC. Whether or not MCL can translate this into potentially finishing the game, not quite, but they will be getting a lot of inhibitors out of
Look
this.
at it's going to be Skeeth's Ghost wailing on that turret, plus combined with Asuka, plus combined with Lucis. Look at how quickly those structures go down. And Lucis, threatening mob away, has the hook shot to escape.
Guys, though, remaining there, trying to get the Pokemon on. But yeah, again, that's the beauty of Lucis. Like, even though technically 2 members of MCL are down because of that extra ghost, that extra member, not to mention that Skype, that's an 80 carry ad. So yeah, it really compensates and really establishes a heavy push onto that turret, establishing that inhibitor, but looks like the Baron will be taken.
And they're going to take this very quickly. Look at that. It's going to be the search and win link, of course, for our viewers. Just open that tab, fill out the form completely, answer the critical question correctly. If you're the first to do that, you will be getting that mystery gift in a few days.
Okay.
Look at that team fight. Now Suzuya away from his team. He's an exit ultimatum, but look at the damage coming from him. Lucis being the front line, takes down Karai to such low health. Even if Void is on Lucis, he just gets out of there quickly with a Quicksilver Sat. And look at that. MCL just mowing them down. It could be only Kissy taken down for MCL, but look at the speed coming from MCL, being able to just take down Steve. And now that's going to be the 80 carry down. And Baron buff plus really dead members here for MCL means that it's going to be even more inhibitors for them. Might even be a Nexus turret or 2. The death timers aren't that long if they can stall. However, Mob hook-shotting into the Unraveled Earth means he gets taken down. Akinos might get this getting lateral damage. It is on cooldown, and Stellar once again with all the shield survives.
MCL will be backing away, but with very good reason. They will be going for this Elder Dragon, only get established all the more, but looks like they will be contenting themselves with recalling instead. But let's go ahead and see what happened here. So MCL securing the Baron buff. There goes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Actually connects onto Suzuya right here. And then Mob goes in heavy. But then again, members of UC, you know, trying to follow it right away. Akino's actually still very far. That being said, MCL just releasing an onslaught of damage. And UC actually not able to respond to this properly. Sure, UC tries to get some form of CC on, but MCL is just so tanky at this point. Doesn't really matter that UC is forced to back off. And with all the members of UC very low on health, Cry, Skype, Akinos, and even Mob at some point, just made it so tricky for MCL. And MCL translating that into a turret, translating that into an inhibitor, just establishes so much more control for them. Skype goes down. Amazing play from MCL.
And now we come back to the camera with them getting the Elder Drake Ghost.
Oh, that's going to be very juicy along with that Baron buff. This is like the dream of dreams when you're playing a Mordekaiser. And when you, with all that siege potential, and not to mention 2 inhibitors down for UC, there's nothing much for UC to do but to just content themselves with trying to defend as hard as they can.
Look at that. This is going to be a 7.5 thousand health meat shield for MCL while they're trying to push this. And with a Baron buff, it's going to be so hard for UC to wave clear this with AoE.
That's one large dragon. And it's going to be very tricky because MCL, a lot of members are tanky at this point.
Look at how much burn the auto attacks from that dragon does. The Weaver's Wall will block them out. Cry now in trouble. Instantly gets taken down. That's going to be Akinos now, the victim of Lucis here. Blocked away because of that wall. Now it's going to be Kissy taken down with that resonating strike. Fountain takes down Suzuya. But now it's going to be game for MCL with Dragon and Tau. Turning it into 1-1, keeping Group B close with 1 point each for these 2 teams. I love it.
Exactly. Just when you thought that MCL might have lost a little bit of morale from that loss earlier, that was a pretty big loss that they had in Game 1. But then again, the restraint that they'd shown in this game for Game 2, they knew when they could just really go all out, which was in that late game wherein they were just so tanky that UC, even though with the burst potential with the CC to take down members right away, just couldn't. Wow, I mean, this is the beauty of MCL. It's all about the restraint in a way. Like, sure, they could have potentially gotten things going, But then again, they knew that UC, with the CC that they have, with the damage that they have, they could potentially take down members of their own team early on. But with that knowledge, MCL showing some restraint and making sure that, hey, we just need to wait for until such time we actually build a little bit more tank here to actually withstand the damage.
I have to give props here to Suzuya and Stellar. Suzuya just rotating everywhere on the map, matching the ganks coming from UC, means that he gets his laners going. The mid lane, Stellar, survives against a Syndra and then gets really good roams. And then later in the game, Lucis. I think Lucis really was, while he wasn't, I think he was the center point, but it was all enabled by Suzuya and Stellar being able to do that. And I like the top lane pick because it works with the team.
Exactly.
And I think why they were able to pull that off, that strange top lane pick, because I think that their top laner has respect for the rest of the team. He has trust, he has respect, so he can just go in and pick these weird champions without fear of getting destroyed.
Exactly. And trust is definitely indeed key. I mean, like the synergy that they had, it wasn't the same MCL that we saw from that game one. And I really think that the roster, not roster changes, but subbing in both
Suzuya
the jungler,
and Stellar.
exactly, really paid off for them. But yeah, again, very well played for both MCL and UC. No clear lead just yet, as the games just get more intense as we head into Game 3 later on. But of course, for the meantime, we have been your shoutcasters. This is of course Arctic at your service, and with me is Atlas. We will be catching you later for Game 3, but for the meantime, stay tuned for the local collegiate league powered by Lenovo.
Harry, gonna be Kissy and Mog. Teleport will be coming from Lucis, but Stellar already takes out Pride, and now he pays the Pride. That's gonna be the Weaver's Wall here. That's gonna be a 3v2 if ever. Plus, Kissy gets that Void Gaze up, but here comes Asuka for the DPS. The Feather Storm is gonna be huge here while Lucis tries to take out Activus. He takes him down. It's gonna be the DPS coming from Asuka and Harry. Hitting the Venus, winning Unraveled Earth. Harry is gonna follow up with a lot of his own DC, but he gets Void Gaze, gets taken down. It's gonna be Suzuya now on the run here. Double kill for Cry. And that's gonna be so unfortunate for him. It's gonna be make that a 5-man here with Kissy getting taken down. Plus Keith in a little bit of a, it's gonna be Asuka taken down immediately, but now Suzuya and the rest of MCL gonna wail on him. It's gonna be 1 for 2 so far, but look at the damage that Lucis is pulling out with that Mordekaiser. Oh my god, look at all the damage and the shields and the survivability. That's gonna be a 2-man. Static Crystal Arrow, but look at the damage comes to Suzuya. He gets a lot of pulls on him, including the Void Gaze. Look at the damage comes from Lucis. He's taking them down one by one, and this choke point. He is taking a lot of damage, but look at Shields. Shields not enough. Now it's going to be Stellar up to him to finish the job. Look at the Unraveled Earth with the Seismic Shove taking it down. Here we go. That's going to be the fight start. The way to pick Ashino and Kissy jump over the wall, but that's going to be Mob now in trouble. Look at Stellar. Even if he gets CC, the threaded volley is still going to be down for that. It's going to be 1 for 1 so far. But here comes the Weaver's Wall. The support comes from the rest of his team. Suzuya, even with his low health, tries to help his team out. Lucis, look at the regeneration. Look at the damage. Now he has a Ghost. Now it's going to be 2v3 here, even with Stellar taking down. This is going to be Ghost. Steve's Ghost actually the biggest target for the Children of the Grave, given MCL. Why now in trouble? Instantly gets taken down. That's going to be Activus now the victim of Lucis here. Blocked away because of that wall. Now it's going to be QC taken down with that resonating strike. Fountain takes down Suzuya. And now it's going to be game for MCL with Dragon and Tau. Okay, turning it into 1-1. Keeping the group B close with 1 point each for these two teams.
Not enough Garena shells to buy the latest League of Legends skin? On sale now? Get shells anytime, anywhere with your Globe or Touch mobile number. Go to gamer.com.ph and sign up with your mobile number and enter the verification code you will receive via SMS. Log in and choose the game and pin you want. Check out to purchase the pin with your load or through your postpaid account and receive the pin on your phone instantly. Never miss a sale on your favorite League of Legends skins and champions with Gamer.